Hello, everybody. Hello, makers and people who like frivolous circuits and electronics everywhere. I am Carrie Sundra of Alpenglow Industries, and welcome to the weekly Wednesday solder sesh. We are actually soldering today. Woohoo! We have not been soldering for the past few weeks because we've been, knitting LED blobs, swirling LEDs on bras, and talking to Mark about all of his cool projects and things that he's done. So so there has actually been a lack of soldering on the soldering sesh. Hello, Bob. How's it going? Today we're getting back to roots. We're soldering, and we have this cool kit by Cyber City Circuits. It is powered by an Arduino Nano, and it is a Theremin kit that operates off of a ultrasonic distance sensor instead of having actual antennas on it. And I'll get into that a little bit more in a bit, but I wanted to tease you about some upcoming things that we have going on. We have a very excellent holiday themed little surprise that is coming up soon. It was a little bit of a last minute thought, but then the ball got rolling and it's turning out really cool, and we're very excited. And so we're hoping to get a new soldering kit that you'll be able to either buy it and it'll be a surface mount soldering kit, or you can get it from us fully assembled. We'll bake it here in our oven and assemble it for you. And so that's going to be coming up soon. That's going to be fun. And RBG board is coming along. We're about to get the revised prototypes in any day now from Osh Park and put those together just to make sure that the LEDs this time for sure have the right pinout. And so those will be coming up in like about a month or so, probably not in time for the holidays. It's really crazy right now with the holidays. Shipping is really slow everywhere across the board. And of course, coupled with the electronics parts shortage, it just makes sticking to any kind of timeline really difficult. So we're just not going to stress it, and we're going to get things out when we get things out. And hopefully you'll think that they're cool at any point in time. Yes, the surprise, Bob. We definitely have a cool surprise. It's like, it looks so cool that I don't even want to give you a sneak peek before we get the actual thing. That's like how cool it is. And it was totally Robin's idea. So yes, very cool. And then what else do we have going on? We also have a few little tiny boards that are just like little helpful boards dealing with programming at Mega 328p boards. So doing that through the ISP, the in-circuit serial programming port. So we'll have a few little helpful ISP programmer adapter boards coming up. And yeah, we're talking to a lot of people. We're going to be conniving with Mark, who was on the stream last week, and might be doing some sort of cool hacking kind of kit scavenger hunty thing sometime next year. How's that for schedule? Sometime next year. I love it. So for designs. And she's also been doing the layout for a bunch of the like little helpful ISP boards and stuff like that too that we're doing. So yes, I've been giving all layout tasks to Robin recently. And yeah, then the other thing is that I've been trying to find some time to catch up with blogging. There's a bunch of stuff that I want to put on the blog that's about programming at Tiny Fours and the microscope setup that we're using to film, and more at Mega 328 programming. That's sort of a next step, like transitioning from the Arduino style of language and libraries to directly doing some like port programming and manipulation on the AVRs. And yeah, I think that's pretty much all we got. So yeah, let's get to it. So this little kit is kind of fun and interesting. And this is the entire kit spread out in the Cyber City Circuits box. And so you get like the board, a whole bunch of LEDs, some resistors. This one is the ultrasonic sensor. This is the Arduino Nano that controls everything. You get some stickers, helpful resistor color code chart. And oh, you don't get the breadboard. That's mine. That's going to be used for soldering headers in. And ooh, speaker, little speaker right here. So yeah, what is a theremin? So traditionally, a theremin, I'm going to zoom in a little bit here too, so we can see more of the board as we start soldering. Oh, I also have, I'm using like a slightly different vise than usual. Like a lot of times when I've been soldering, I've been using this like little Hako guy, which is pretty useful. You just stick it the edge of a board in right here and it clamps down. It's nice because it's very easy to take out and flip over. This one I'm using this time because I haven't used it all this much, and also, you know, we're always messing around with lights and cameras, and we have a new, hello, this is a new camera here. So we're always messing around with different setups. And right now, if we have a board that's very parallel to our very nice bright LED light up there, you just get a lot of glare off of it. So this one allows me to tilt it a little bit and not have as much glare, be a little nicer to look at. So yeah, but I don't know if I love it quite as much. It's like a little more, I don't know, a little jankier, but we'll see how it goes. So yeah, so what is a theremin? I'm just gonna start talking and putting LEDs in because I just think I want to solder them first. And LEDs, of course, are directional. They have a long pin and a short pin. Long pin is positive, the short pin is negative. If you have cut off the pins and they are both the same length, you can also figure out which is which on your LED because there is a flat side of the LED. And actually that's going to be, it's even on these 5mm LEDs, it can be so subtle that it's really hard to see. So I'm going to switch over here to microscope view. Maybe get a little more light on the situation. So let's see. Yeah, you can even kind of barely see it with the microscope. Like that is the flat side up right now. Let me see if I can get you a little better view. There you go. So, so yeah, that is the flat side. This is the round side. Flat side goes towards negative, or what's usually ground. So long side positive, flat side negative, and that is how we put our LEDs together. I'm gonna turn this off.
Of course.
Oh yeah, cool. All right. So a theremin is a musical instrument that is basically made of two antennas, and one you use to control volume and one is used to control pitch. And it relies on the fact that your body is a giant capacitor. And so as you physically move closer to the theremin, you'll either change pitch if you're moving close to the pitch antenna, which is generally an upright one, or you'll change volume, which is generally a loop antenna that is, I'm going to get this guy through, it would help. There we go. It's generally a loop antenna that's like off to the side. So there's usually like a pitch antenna here that sticks up, and then loop antenna over here that goes on the side. So like people who are playing a theremin look very like mystical and like, you know, are kind of hovering with their hand over here to adjust volume and like doing something with their fingers over here, but not actually touching the antenna, just like kind of wiggling their fingers around the antenna to change the pitch. So it's kind of cool. And it makes, the sounds that it makes are like these very sort of 1950s sci-fi movie sounds, like woo. That's my theremin noise. You are welcome. So, okay, so we don't have antennas on this board. So what's going on? Well, this is like, you know, this is sort of a simulated theremin. So there's a speaker on this board that is going to actually make the noise. There's an Arduino on it that's going to control the speaker. And there is an ultrasonic sensor here, which is going to go right here. And so hovering your hand above and below the ultrasonic sensor is what's going to actually change the pitch. So this one does not actually work by capacitance, but I mean, they both kind of work in terms of distance, right? Like the distance your body is from the antenna. So it'll be interesting. I've never heard somebody really play a live theremin, like who is any good at it. I've seen theremins like demonstrated before, right? Like, oh, here's a theremin, and like you make some noise, and you're like, whoa, okay, that's weird. But apparently, you like there, as with any musical instrument, there are people who study it and practice and are really good at it. And so, yeah, I think that's probably good. I'm going to do just the bottom row, and I'm going to split these LED legs apart a little bit so that when I flip it over, they don't all fall out. And I am not a super stickler for having, like, I know that when I do this, that the LEDs are going to wiggle a little bit, and some will probably be, raised up a little bit from the board. And you know what? That's okay. I am not a perfectionist when it comes to solder kits. I want to get it done well enough so it'll hold up, and then I want to play with the kit. That's the kind of person I am. So yeah, so ultrasonic distance sensor theremin. There are people who are good at playing theremins. I've never heard one, but you could definitely look that up on YouTube.
So is that the same sensor that you used for the F Unicorn?
For the F Unicorn, yeah, for the social distance version. Yes. So yes, it is the same sensor. You can. So there are a lot of different kinds of distance sensors, and these ultrasonic ones are good in sort of the inches to several feet range. So they're good. They're very good general purpose. There are other types of distance sensors that are really only better for things that are very close, but they might be more precise. Yep. All right. Let's see if these all fall out when I flip it upside down. Yeah, did I get them all? Looks like I got them all. Yeah, that's not too bad. I'm looking at them now to see how much they're going to, wiggle and fall out. So I might just kind of give these guys an extra little bend. But I think I'm pretty good. They won't all be perfectly straight either. That's okay. I know some people would be cringing right now. Jason would definitely be cringing. Jason Kuhn of Evil Genius Labs. He's very much a perfectionist in his kits and things. It's pretty funny. So that one I bent the leads the wrong way. Cool. So I'm gonna get the soldering iron over here. Using the good old Metcal today with a relatively big tip, just because it's through hole parts, so it's not too hard. And there we go. I'm just gonna start at one end and go to the other. I think that's mostly it. And then I'll probably check this under the microscope before we're done here, just to make sure that I'm not accidentally only partially soldering something or whatever. Sometimes it can be hard to see with your bare eyes, and I'm not using any additional magnification right now. A lot of times if I was doing a through hole kit, I would be using one of those magnifier ring lights, but it just gets kind of clunky here with the video setup. It's just a lot all up in your face, and trying to get that in my view, but not the camera view, can just be a hassle. So I tend to not use a ring light anymore. I did that for the first couple of episodes and things that I soldered together. It was okay, but I kind of prefer not having it. So yeah, just going down the row, just putting enough solder to get like a nice joint, not dwelling too long on the pads. It's interesting. You'll see a lot of soldering instructions that tell you to like put the iron on the pad first for like 2 to 3 seconds and then add solder. I don't like that, especially for lead-free solder where you're soldering at a much higher temperature. I think that that's a good way to like accidentally cook your pads, especially when you're learning. So it does take a little practice to just kind of get the hang of it and get the timing right. But it's just better to, in my opinion, to add solder and heat at the same time. Also, the type of iron you use can affect that a little bit, because if you have kind of like a wussy iron, like only a 60 watt or something, then it can actually take longer to heat up those pads. Sorry, wussy iron, like I would say like even like 30 to, I think they still sell 30 watt irons, but 60 watt is a little bit better. I think these ones that I have are more like around 90 watts. So they can really heat up stuff super fast, which is nice. But yeah, I like to add solder and heat at the same time. And of course you want to be sure that you're touching the leg of your component and the pad and the solder all with the tip of the iron. Because if your tip is sort of too far up on the leg, then the solder will flow to where it is hottest and it won't flow to the pad. So that's why you always want to make sure that your tip is touching the pad or as close to touching the pad as you can get it. Might not be able to get like exactly on the pad if it's like a really fat tip, but as close as you can get it. And it's always better to be on the pad. All right. Well, that worked out pretty well. Oh, that's right. The other thing I can do is not take it out of here, but just flip it there. Look at that. That's not bad. That's reasonably nice. Cool. Hopefully I put all those LEDs in the proper orientation. I guess we'll find out. It's really hard to tell which is the flat side from just looking at it. I swear they've made those smaller in recent times, but I think we're good. All right, so maybe I'm going to spread the legs as I go this time so it's not as weird or as hard to get my fingers in there after they're all in. Yeah. Happy corpse birthday to members of the U.S. Marine Corps. I did not know it was Corps birthday, Marine Corps birthday. But yes, happy birthday, Marines. Let's see. What else is going on? I don't know. I think that's about it. Oh, we're working on one last video for Make It in Liquid Instruments too. So it'll be the third in the series. If you have not seen the first two, definitely go check them out. They're on Make's YouTube channel. The first one I did is on waves, different kinds of waves, generating and listening to different kinds of waves, triangle, square, and sine. And then the second one is all about addressable RGB LEDs and how they work. And we even get into the end, so we like kind of decode the messaging structure to them and look at all that stuff on a logic analyzer. And then I also at the end go over PWM, like dimming and brightening. So I don't know, I'm pretty stoked on the way it came out. I think it's a pretty good tutorial all about how that style of LED works and, you know, basically how RGB LEDs work in general. And yeah, so we're working on the third in the series, and that's going to be about servos and motors and PWMs. So that'll be fun. Oh, and H-bridges too. H-bridges. Awesome. All right. second row of LEDs, and they even gave us two extras. How nice.
It's a lot of LEDs.
It's a lot of LEDs, I know. This might be kind of a short stream. It's not a super big kit, but that is fine. Because last stream was pretty long, so we got to mix it up. Gotta mix it up. Yeah.
I'm still very impressed with how you're able to solder while being videoed and not have your head in the camera constantly.
It's funny. I get worried about that. But yeah, I am aware, like, if I were doing this more normally, I would kind of be like this, and then my head would be blocking the camera. So I am sort of aware of that and try not to lean over too much, which is also like why doing this under magnification is better, because my eyeballs are farther away than they usually are. And I have those like mid 40s eyeballs that are getting all sorts of weird and can't see and unable to focus short distances and all that stuff. Good times. All right. Cut these guys off. So Bob, are you working on any projects or anything? Let me know. And anybody else who's watching, definitely let us know what you're working on, if you have any projects going or that you're even just like thinking about or wanting to do. Oh, there's also going to be two things I know about that are going to be cool. One is that Deborah, Geek Mom Projects, is going to be doing a talk at Remoticon on modular circuit boards. And judging from the little previews that she's put up on Twitter, it looks like it's going to be super cool. Like basically all about, different methods of connecting circuit boards together to make like some greater project. So it's more stuff like, making geometrical shapes out of like the same circuit board over and over again. So she has like this whole triangle polygon thing going on with like hinges and movement and stuff like that. So it looks like it's going to be pretty cool. And that's upcoming Hackaday's Remoticon. I don't know the exact like date and time off the top of my head, but you can totally look it up. Also, I am drinking tea today because I forgot to bring a beer in. I'm very, very sad. This might be the first beerless solder sesh, which we should not set that as a precedent. That's just wrong. But yeah. So the next thing I am going to solder are the resistors. So in the kit, there's one 100 ohm resistor, and then judging from the directions, the other ones, 5 1K resistors. So the way that they came, there was like this one little resistor that was obviously like cut from a tape of resistors. And then there were a whole bunch of other resistors that were not cut from a tape. So I'm going to guess that this one is in fact the 100 ohm resistor and that the rest are all the 1K. And, if this were just me, like not streaming, I would totally guess and be good enough with that and live with my consequences if I was wrong. But since this is a stream, we're doing this like for YouTube, I'm just going to make sure that it actually is what I'm assuming it to be. So I'm just using a multimeter here in measurement mode, and it is indeed 100 ohms. Yay. Awesome. And yes, you can also look at the color code. But again,
who has time for that?
Exactly. Who has time and patience for that? And like this one isn't too bad to see. I think there's like brown, black, brown, gold. But this one is like, okay, brown, black, red, and gold, maybe? I don't know. Whatever. You can totally do it by color code with the key that Cyber City Circuits provides for you. But yeah, who's got time for that? I think if in the zombie apocalypse, if multimeters no longer work, you're probably not going to be soldering resistors. Mm-hmm. So it just won't matter. All right, so we're sticking that one in the 100 ohm hole. And they were nice. They labeled that one as the different one, which is something we're doing in our upcoming kits too, because we also, in the upcoming surprise kit, have a few different, we have 2 different resistor values, and we're hedging a little bit right now because we actually have not completely settled on what one of those resistor values is going to be, because they go to LEDs. And until we actually get the LEDs in hand and put them on the board with the resistor that we think, you know, is going to be good, it's always hard to predict like how bright they're going to be and how things are going to look when it's all said and done. So we like to reserve the right to change the resistor LED value at the last minute. And so we have not committed to writing its value on the circuit board, but we have committed to writing the values of the resistors that are 10K and not going to change on the circuit board. So that is how we're handling that. And we'll also, of course, have like some assembly diagrams online that show you what everything is. And 2 projects. Ooh, upgrading Jason's Fibonacci 32 from Arduino Nano to OakDev text boards. Nice. And ooh, breadboard Raspberry Pi 2040 dev board. Exciting. Nice. What do you have any thoughts on what you're going to do with the RP 2040? I am curious. I have a few of those boards that I have not done anything with yet. Just, I don't know. I guess I've had more ideas for other things than I've had for those right now, but I definitely like want to mess around with them. All right, moment of truth. Are they going to fall out? Ciao. Oh, pretty good. Figure out how to hand knit an LED blob variation. Yes, do it. Do it. Do it. Yeah, if you have any questions during that, feel free to give a shout out on the Twitter. Happy to answer any. I think the trickiest thing about the LED blob knitting is that they do sometimes tend to, like the previous one that you've just pulled through, sometimes wants to kind of undo itself as you do the next one. So in knitting, that's, well, in knitting, the equivalent would be dropping a stitch. It's like less devastating when you drop an LED wire switch because they don't tend to like all unravel. But still, it can be frustrating to have to like put them through. And yeah, you just kind of get a feel for it, like pre-bending them into that U shape. I found helped with that, and then just like sticking the U shape through. You can also like sort of bend the wire over itself, kind of like at 90 degrees. Like once you get like the stitch through the previous row, like bending that stitch like this can kind of help lock it into place temporarily. But yeah, it's not too hard, and it definitely gives you an idea when you do that of like the structure of knit stitches that is not actually necessarily readily apparent when you are a beginner and knitting with yarns and needles, because it's kind of weird. It even took me like knitting a couple things before I understood that, like, oh, by doing all these weird complicated motions, I am just pulling a loop of yarn through another loop. So yeah, I feel like doing that with the wire, it's like just more obvious because it's just bigger, and that's all of what you're doing every single row. Ah, the bread 2040 board will replace the Nano. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Cool. All right. So what do I want to do next? I think I want to do headers. So they did something really clever with this ultrasonic sensor where like you can see that this is the ultrasonic sensor and these guys usually just come with this header here that that is designed to just like stick into a circuit board like that. But they want to stick it into the circuit board like this. So they've basically given you a 4-pin right angle header to solder in here, and then you can just, you know, slide the ultrasonic sensor into that. And I thought that that was kind of clever, rather than like, I don't know, having you like bend those pins over or, you know, do something weird like that. So this one, you can't really like bend those leads over because they're really short. They just like poke out of the board slightly. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hold this with my thumb as I flip the circuit board over. This little vise that I'm using today is from Panavice too. You can get them at a lot of different distributors and stuff. They make all sorts of like small electronics holding vices and stuff. So I'm just going to I'm going to clean my soldering iron off first and grab a fresh little ball of solder and then just like touch it to one of these guys so that I can just gently tack it in place. And I just like gently release my finger on the other side of the board to make sure it's held in place. And then I can go through and solder these all. And then I always end with going over the one that I just tacked in place because it's likely a cold and bad solder joint. Because generally when you pre-apply solder to the iron, the flux tends to burn off before it gets to the board. And the flux is what makes solder flow and keeps the joint clean and makes the metal bond to each other nicely. All right, well, that's a little bit skewed, but not too bad. That's a little crooked. Good thing I'm not a perfectionist. I'm a get it doneist. I could just like very gently kind of wiggle it around here too. Whatever, it's fine. So I think I will do the nano headers next. So there's kind of two parts of this. The nano comes like this, just as like sort of this little circuit board. And they provide these headers. So these headers, the sockets will solder to the board like that. And then they also provide these pin headers so that we can solder the pin headers on the nano like that. And then make it removable so that if we accidentally fry the nano or if we want to use the nano for something else, for another project, we can just like take it off, do something else with it, stick it back on. So the way I think I'm going to do this, that I think is going to have the most chance of success and straight headers, is I'm going to do the Arduino Nano first. So get this out of the way. And the easiest way to do something like this, where you have, where you already have like 1/10" spacing and you want to solder these in nice and straight, is to just use a breadboard as like a little helpful holder tool. So I'm sticking my pins in the breadboard and these guys in the breadboard too on the right ones. Make sure that they're through these mounting holes. It can be easy to like kind of get off by one on the nanos and accidentally get one through the mounting hole, which does not help you. So be extra careful that you're through all of the actual pads and not through any of the mounting holes. And so this row goes here. And you can see like, so on pin headers, you know, this happens and it's kind of normal. You can see how like the pins are sort of wavy there. Like they've actually like shifted up and down within the plastic block. And like, it totally happens. I'm gonna put this in the circuit board or in the breadboard first, I think. There. And then I can kind of more easily see. And then, let's see, I kind of want something flat that I can like push down with what do we have around here? I can probably just use the socket maybe. I'm just gonna like try to push on just a little bit. See if I can level them out a little. There we go. It's easier to do it this way and see, so that you can kind of see which ones are still just a little bit proud. And you want to be careful when you're doing this, like, because you could actually like kind of push them in a little too much. Although being in the breadboard helps with that. I'm just going to do the same thing on the other side here, just like even these guys out. Now they're pretty good. I think I'm pretty happy with that. All right. Let's see if they're in the right spacing. If I got the spacing right, I think I did. Yeah, there we go. All right. And cool. And the Nano just fits right on. We are totally in all of the pads there. We are not accidentally off in our mounting holes. And now, like, I don't really need to like hold this down or tack it down. I can just start to solder. Although I do, when I have like a strip of headers this long, I do tend to do opposite corners first. So I'll do like this guy. Just like this is just in case it sort of like shifts on you at all. So I'll do that guy and that guy, and then I'll do the bottom one and like the top one, which I'll turn so that it's more ergonomic. And then I'll check them from the side again just to make sure that the board is flat, so that it's not like sticking up anywhere or weird at all. And that looks good. So now we're good to solder the rest of the headers. Interesting. So Bob says that he realized he could use some cords. This is back on the knitting the blob topic. Some like cords with LEDs in order to, or sorry, some cords with knots to simulate the LED to kind of like practice it ahead of time. Yeah, I would suggest if you want to do that, I would suggest using wire and putting knots in the wire, just because wire is it just feels different and behaves differently than yarn does. Yarn will have a lot of other different interesting issues. So yeah, the wire, the LED wire too, it is pretty forgiving. And also the other thing that you can do is the 50 light strands of LEDs were, I think they were like $9 or something off of Amazon. So you could always, start with like a small one, and then, when you're ready, make a bigger one. I think that there's a little bit of a higher chance of accidentally doing real damage to one with Deborah's technique, just because she has you putting zip ties in and then like clipping the zip ties off. And it's the clipping the zip ties off that you can definitely like accidentally get too close to a strand, as Robin can tell you. That's okay. That's our test LED strand now. Good. So, all right. So now we are completely soldered. Ooh, and now there's a lot of friction getting these guys out because there's a whole bunch of pins and it's a small part. So we're gentle, well, firm, but careful to, you don't want to like just pull it all out by one end, because that can actually, like if I were just to lever it out this way, it could bend the pins that are in this side. So you want to just kind of wiggle it from side to side. I'm also a little bit careful around the USB connector. I try not to use it for leverage because, the USB connectors are surface mount soldered down there, and I don't want to put any undue stress on it and cause it to pop off the board. So I just kind of work from the corners where the headers are. There we go. And it does tend to kind of pop out all at once, but we're good. No damage. Yay. So now what I think I'm going to do is put these guys in the sockets. Where'd my other one go? I had it around here. Oh, it's in the board. Hey, thank you. Thank you. So now the sockets are all nice and lined up. And what we can do is we can go back to the board and we can just stick it in the board. And now this is directional. Aha. And they wrote USB on one end. So I'm going to line up the USB with the USB. And put that through. There we go. And now I'm going to do the same sort of thing. We're going to flip it around and just like hold it down on this side while I tack probably 2 pins. And then I'll go through the rest of them. And sometimes like if you're clever, you can kind of like lay some, you can kind of get the solder to sort of like lay near a pin, maybe like that. So it's just like a little bit nicer. So there, that guy is soldered. I can do the same thing down here. I can actually pinch it with this finger pretty well while I'm holding it in. So that actually works quite nice. There we go. Here, I'll demonstrate that again because I think it might have been like a little bit behind the cover, the workbench thing there. So what I did was I was holding it on the bottom side. I'll just do this guy right here, pinching the solder there, and then just feeding it in. You do have to be like a little bit careful to not get your fingers too close to the iron, but not too bad. So I'm going to double check this again, just because it's a part with a lot of pins. I want to make sure it looks straight and everything and like looks flush, looks all good. Cool. So I'm wondering if the LEDs light up with volume or with pitch. I have not, I got a bridge there. We'll get rid of that. So this one I might just be able to get rid of just like with the iron by just kind of reflowing, maybe. Yeah, there we go. So I just kind of used the iron between the two to kind of like wipe the solder out. And just doing that. Flowing that again. That's good. So yeah, I wonder if the LEDs control the volume or the pitch, or both. If there's an indication, not control, sorry, if they indicate the volume or the pitch, or both.
I think those two might be bridged.
Those two? They're not. I can tell from the side right here.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I can tell from the side that they're not, but it looked, yeah.
Like there's a little...
The flux can, like with the camera angle, the flux can sometimes look like, look like solder. And this is solder with no clean flux, so we don't have to clean it off. It's inert, which is kind of nice. I mean, cleaning circuit boards is sort of a pain in the butt. It's a pain in the butt to try to like get all the flux off without any residue. But they also look really nice when they're clean. So yeah. That one I did bridge. So I'm just gonna like fix that. I think it's important to like know too that you can like do some of this stuff without solder wick, because you might not always have it. You might run out. You might not have had it in the first place. Solder wick is a very helpful tool, and like definitely recommend it for anybody who's learning how to solder, because that's how you can remove excess solder and you can remove solder bridges with it and stuff. But I like showing different ways of doing things that don't necessarily rely on one tool. So let's see, I'll do Actually, I'm gonna leave it in the board right now because I feel like it's a little fiddly, like taking it in and out of the vise. So I'll show you those joints in a bit. All right. So we got 2 parts left. This one I'm gonna do. This guy I'm gonna do last because it actually hangs over the board, so I can't really put it in right now with the little circuit board grips. But I can do the speaker. Speakers are also directional. There's a plus and a minus. And we're going to line that up with the plus and the minus on the board. And oops, that was a nice noise. And then we'll flip it over. I think we're going to try that like little holding the solder down with my thumb trick again. I liked that. See, you never know when you might figure out like a better way of doing something too. Yeah, it's not too bad. So we got that. Now I don't have to hold it in anymore. And you don't want to, like, those speakers, the leads are kind of big and they are, you know, connected to like the coil inside. So you don't want to bend those over. Mitchell says that they assume because they're laid out like a piano keyboard, the LEDs indicate pitch. Aha, David! David of Cyber City Circuits is watching. Hello, hello. Nice. Sorry, I wasn't paying attention to the chat. Robin was, though. I'm glad she said hi. Careful not to bend pins. Yes, on the speaker and on there. Take a screwdriver and pry it. Oh, for the Arduino Nano in order to get it out of the breadboard. Yeah. You could do that too. That probably would have been a little bit better. I would have been able to control the prying force a little bit more. But yeah, again, gently from like each side is always a good idea. All right. And so now we're going to do the last one. I wonder if, let's see. Okay. Let's see. Try to do this. I wonder if I can just kind of, yeah. Is that going to work? Maybe, maybe not. I'm going to try to get this guy just a little bit tighter. I feel like this circuit board grip, it's like really good in theory, but in practice it is not as, like, it doesn't hold the board as sturdily as I would ideally like. Mm-hmm. So we'll do this. Yes, we're zoomed in, maximum zoomage. So this guy is, you know, somewhat directional. It has all this weird pin layout on the back, and I can see that these two are a little close. I'm just going to very gently bend that guy out so that it goes in a little bit better. Mm-hmm. Key is to not force anything. You just kind of feel around. Feel around. I feel like I got one that's not cooperating. Oh, that one. And you can also take, needle nose pliers. It's a nice, more controlled way of dealing with any pins that got bent. There we go. That should do it. Oh, still got one. Which one is the bothersome one? I think that one is good. Let's see. I feel like this one is like a little bit out of joint. I might need to actually pick this up and look at it a little bit. Let's see. Mm-hmm. It's a little tricky. It's just like a little bit of a tricky part because it has like 5 pins. They're all underneath the part. So getting them like all perfectly lined up in the holes is just like a little tricky. Oh, just got one more. But like getting a few started and then just like gently prodding them. Come on. It also doesn't help that these pins, they're not they are not square. So they're like long in one direction and skinny in another. And so it's like, and they're all oriented at different directions. So it's just like a little bit of a pain in the butt part to get them all to play nice all at once. Come on. And of course the pressure's on. The pressure's on. Like, okay, got that. Those two now. I can either get like the front in or the back in, but all of them at once are not cooperating. I wonder if I actually have like, if there's a pin that has a little bit of solder in it. I see what's happening. I think that it won't be a problem. I think I can just push it in and it will be fine. There we go. Got it. Ciao. Okay. We're all in. Excellent. Cool. And so that one is like being held in place by the pins. I don't actually have to hold it myself. So there we go. Solder in the last one, right? I think this is the last component. Cool. Awesome. Yeah, Bob says the 3.5 millimeter jack is like a little difficult to coax into place. Yeah. Make sure all the pins are through. Yeah, it was just, I think that there was like a little bit from the hot air soldering level finish on the board. I think that there was one pin that had just like a little bit of solder in the hole, and that's why it was like giving me some trouble. Ooh, okay. There's our ultrasonic sensor. We can now put that in ODAT. So kudos to you guys that I didn't think of this at first, was just to make sure that you could actually, after soldering the speaker in, have enough room to plug this in. And you do. Thank you. So then we got that. So shoot, I think are we ready to fire this up? Are we ready? Okay. Robin, may I have the USB cable? And it needs to be the bigger one, the mini. Yeah, thank you. Oh wait, no. There's one right here in the kit. One of my speaker legs looks like a cold joint. Let's see. It might just be the angle. No, they both look pretty good. Ooh, I know what we can do. We can look at it under the microscope before we fully power it up, just to be sure. That's over there. That. All right. Let's see, this might be a little bit difficult to do in a way that's not going to be very glary. I'll turn the light down a little bit maybe. And we'll try to focus this a little better for you. Cool. So actually, hang on, I'm going to focus it on my eyes first, and eyes first, then camera. So here we go. And then there we go. Cool. So, yeah, these are the solder joints, the speakers right there. They both look good. One is just a little blobbier, and I think that that's what you were catching. It just reflects the light a little bit differently. So, you know, this one is not quite as nice of a joint as that one is. That one is very nice. Like, let's see if I can get this in range here. I might not be able to without like completely readjusting the microscope setup. But there we go. Maybe I can cheat a little bit. So yeah, this one is like textbook nice solder joint. It has those nice concave sides, and it like looks like a perfect little cone that's going up there. And that's like ideally what you would like all of your soldering joints to look like. This one is like a little more blobby, you know, more convex on the side. It's fine. It is fine for this kit. Like, do not sweat if all of your solder joints look like that. You know, that is very nitpicky that I'm talking right now. Like, this is obviously nowhere near anything else on the board. It has plenty of solder that it's making connection, and the solder joint looks good. It's like shiny enough for the lead-free solder. It doesn't look cold. It is totally fine. So these guys, let's see if I can focus on them. Yeah. So, these guys have a variety of looks. As you can see, like, this one, that one's a little bally. It's probably fine, but I'm just going to reflow it real quick, just in case it's not fully flowed to the pads. Sometimes joints can be like that. They can kind of be like balled up above the joint and not really flowed to the pad. So I'm just reflowing that one. So yeah, that one looks better now. And yeah, the other ones in the other row that are closer, yeah, they look pretty fine. Your standard slightly too much solder from hand soldering joints. We're not doing anything where precise quantity of solder and quality matters. This board is not going into space. Sorry, David. Yeah. So there we go. Let's plug it in. All right. Let's see how terrible I am at playing this thing too. Ooh, I feel like I need a longer cable. Could you grab one of the USB extenders that has like the socket? I think there's definitely one in the office if there's not one here.
Is this long enough? Is that what
yeah,
that is?
Yeah.
I can go grab a longer one.
I don't know if this has anything crazy going. Yeah, it needs to be a look because we need to get all the way up there. This is like yeah, I don't know what's going on with this. Some crazy USB tiny extender cable thingy. Wonder what that went to. We just have we kind of have an extra long distance here between the bench and our nice little USB power bank there, and all of my USB ports that are easily accessible on my computer being used for other things like video and microphones. So just getting an extender for it.
Is this an extender?
Yeah, perfect.
All right.
Thank you. So here's a USB extender if you haven't seen it. And since also this is just being used for power right now, I guess we might plug it into the computer maybe to see. David, do you have files for this up? I haven't looked at your website yet. Ooh, there's a light. We have light. Oh, so okay, so it's speaker or audio. Woo. Okay, this is already cool. But yeah, okay. I'm gonna zoom out a little bit here so that you can actually see what I'm doing. Oh, look at all those dead soldier leads. Okay, so I'm already giggling. It must be good.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
This is ridiculously awesome. Do you want to play? Oh, David, this kid is great.
Oh, I could play with that for hours. That's amazing.
Yes. It's super good. Yeah, things that are interactive are always incredibly delightful. Yes. And I love too that I love the LEDs, like the fact that, the fact that you get that visual indication of the tone as well. And, blinky lights are always good, right? Right? I'm trying to, maybe I'll do it this way so that I'm not blocking the lights. That is super cool. I mean, they talk about in the Theremin articles about like how you can do vibrato by like wiggling your fingers like that. And like I can now see how that kind of works. That is really cool. Awesome. Okay, so the code is on GitHub, says David of Cyber City Circuits. And it's real simple. It's just an array. And you can change the notes. Excellent. Okay, try rotating your hands so you're shaking hands and then put your finger in the sensor. Okay. I don't know. Oh, I see what you're saying. So that my fingers are all at different levels, right? Next, we need like a polyphonic one.
Play it like a flute.
Play it like a flute. I can't play a flute. Yeah, it's interesting. It definitely has like a different reaction this way than it does with when your hand's like that. Like you definitely get more of a solid tone here because you have like the meat of your hand is always at a certain level. And then you can just like wiggle real lightly to control. Whereas here, your fingers really need to like interrupt the path, and that kind of happens at different points with different fingers. I mean, I'm sure that anybody could get adept with it with practice.
So use a piece of cardboard.
Oh, let's see. Try a piece of cardboard or something. Okay. So like this? Like how are you suggesting I put the cardboard like this? Like that. I like hands though. I like the wiggling my fingers and making it do things. I can't keep it just, Oh, this is pretty great. This is pretty great. David, where did you get the idea for this? I'm curious because that's super cool. I love the use of the ultrasonic sensor. Do it. I love it.
I really want to try a real theremin now.
I know. I kind of want to
gotten a taste of it.
Right? Oh, theremin madness.
Yes.
Yeah, I need to look up some DIY instructions. I'm sure that somebody's like has a kit on Tindy, right? Like
There's gotta be.
There's gotta be. I don't know if David had to step away or not, or is typing like a fiend, but I'm definitely interested in hearing how you came up with this idea. It was a good one. And coming up with it because you saw it somewhere else and were inspired by it, that's super fine too. I'm just gonna clean up my forest of test leads here. I'm definitely gonna have to like tweet a little video of this. It's super cool. Oh, super enjoyable. I will say, like, we were both very excited when we got the kit, and we're like, Theremin, what? Because that is one of the weirdo instruments that we didn't have around here yet. We have a bunch of like different little keyboard things, mostly like ASCII tone stuff, which is always really cool. And yes, PJ, that's a good point. Like we were talking about that earlier, that you need like 2 hands for a real theremin, that they have 2 antennas. One is just pitch, and then the other is volume. So yeah. Ooh, Jameco sells a Mad Theremin Junior kit for $15 that uses a 555. Oh, I love it. Love it. All right. I'll have to look that one up for sure. Yeah. Yeah. So cool. And so I mean, I know how it works, but that's still somewhat surprising that you tilt a board and like turn it upside down and it makes a noise. I'm not used to that. I know it's still weird. Oh my gosh. Okay. So no, I was just going to point out the headphone jack. I think that that's super interesting too.
Oh, so you can listen through headphones.
Yeah. So you can listen through headphones or the little speaker. Because, you know, I don't know, you might want purity of Arduino generated tones. Gotta go, David. Well, thank you so much for you know, providing this kit. It was super good. And yeah, it's a very excellent kit. You guys did a good job on this. I love it. I wonder, like, I'm sure that somebody could actually get good enough to play a recognizable tune on this, right? Like, that would be mad crazy.
I'm sure somebody somewhere.
Somebody somewhere who is not me, that has never played any musical instrument in her life, as I'm sure you can tell. Oh, yes. Happy Veterans Day, David. That's right. That is right. Ooh. I feel like we have a little bit of noise going on there, maybe. Noise in the distance sensor. Bloop, 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 bloop. I like it, though. All right. Well, sweet. I don't know. I think we are pretty much done here. We have made a cool little thing that makes awesome little beepy noises. I'm happy. I feel like it's a good Wednesday. But yeah, I'll try to look up maybe on YouTube some theremin performances and tweet about them if I find any that are like particularly good or interesting or whatever. I'm sure there's all sorts of crazy stuff out there, but now I'm kind of on this theremin kick and need to know. Imagine it as a doorbell. That would be great. I feel like that would freak people out if they went up to the doorbell and didn't push it and it rang. But yeah, I mean, it's really interesting. Like capacitive touch buttons also, you can actually set them to trigger without touching the actual physical object too. You can set their sensitivity, and so you can actually use some capacitive touch sensors to, you know, do the same sort of thing, but instead act as buttons. And I think that that's kind of a neat thing as well. But yes, the human body as capacitor is useful and cool and weird. Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for joining us. I think that was super fun. I don't know what's up for next week. I'm definitely like trying to line up some more cool guests. I'm in talks with a bunch of people. A lot of people are kind of getting that holiday crunch right now going on. So might be a little bit sparse on the guests for the next month or so, but you know, we'll see. And yeah, I mean, we have a lot of solder kits, So I don't know, as it gets more holiday-y, I think I have some new Christmas tree ones that we'll probably put together at some point. And yeah, who knows? Got some airplanes. I got some SR-71s and some MiGs.
What?
Yeah. Little desk models, of course, but they're cool. They're like they're all the different circuit board shapes that like come as a panel on a little card that you this thing is still making noise. I love it. That you like pop them all out and like they key together and then you solder them all up.
Cool.
Yeah. So we got like some little tiny airplanes. We have more things that make noises. And then we also have some like project-y stuff going on. I think that one of these days we're gonna play with adding ESP32s to our traffic light game. We've been talking about that for a while, and it's just sort of been a back burner project, so that finally we don't have to be wired to the controller, and probably maybe putting a case around our 120 volt.
Might be a good
so
idea.
Yeah, this is probably a good idea. I mean, we know not to touch it, but might be a good way to, I don't know, screen guests. Beep, beep, beep. This mug, by the way, is excellent as Theremin, but the mug is Circuit Breaker Labs. She does amazing stuff. Cool jewelry out of like scrap circuit boards, and as well as like other cool things. So, all right. Yeah. AKA Habu. What is Habu, Bob? I know the only thing that I know of as Habu is a Japanese yarn company. Habu Textiles. They make all sorts of like really cool yarn. Well, they might import it, but yeah, they have all sorts of like really interesting yarn, some stainless steel yarn, some like conductive stuff, all sorts of like weird paper kind of yarn. Oh, the SR-71. I knew about Blackbird, but I didn't know Habu was also a nickname for it. I'll have to look up where that comes from. That's very interesting. Cool. Learn something new. All right. Well, thank you all for coming. Thanks for joining us. And yeah, see you on Twitter and see you next week. We'll do something cool. All right. Oh, I'm going to play us out.